Welcome to the Burrillville School Committee regular session, October 8th, 2019, Burrillville High School Media Center, 425 East Avenue, Harrisville, Rhode Island. Members present, all. I will announce that we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance when we return to open session.
Okay.
Instead of now, okay.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to move to executive session under Rhode Island General Law 42-46-5, 8A3, Emergency Operations Plan.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'll poll the committee into executive session. Terry? Dot?
Yes.
Yes.
Sylvia?
Yes.
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 We are in executive session. Okay, we'll reconvene into open session. Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to seal the minutes from executive session.
Motion to second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and I will note that one vote was taken in executive session. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 4, recognition. We have none this evening. Item 5, consent agenda, approval of minutes, warrants and invoices, bids.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting, September 10th, 2019, and approval of warrant number 3 for the month of September, dated October 8th, 2019, in the amount of $2,526,441.61.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'm just going to abstain from the vote because I wasn't present last month.
Good. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
No bids this evening. Item 6, presentations by the public to the school committee. We don't have anything for this evening. We have none this evening. Item 7, public comment. Anyone wishing to speak, please to come to the podium, state your name and address. Having none this evening, personnel, appointments, leaves of absence, retirements, resignations.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the following appointment: Madeline McNally, Unified Club Teacher Assistant at current contractual salary.
Second.
Motion second, discussion. Having none, all in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the following leaves of absence: Catherine Lord, Principal at Burrillville Middle School, on or about December 10th, 2019 through June 30th, 2019, and Lauren Fernandez, Teacher Assistant at the high school, on or about October 8th, 2019 for 6 to 12 weeks.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Having none, all in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, make a motion to approve the following athletic appointments as presented.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Discussion.
I'm going to, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to recuse myself as my daughter is listed as one of the appointments for the girls' ice hockey head coach at Burrillville High School. So I'm going to recuse myself from
Thank you.
voting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Old business, fiscal year 20 BSD budget update.
Motion to open.
Second.
Motion open is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll accept the motion. Just for the, accept the motion for the transfer.
Motion to transfer as presented.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? Having none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Fiscal year 20 rink budget update.
Motion to open.
Second.
Motion open is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No one has any questions, I'll accept the motion to receive and file.
So moved.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Motion second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Item 10, superintendent's report.
Motion open?
Second.
Motion open is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Chair Brazad. I have a number of items to discuss as part of my report tonight. I want to start with our visioning session, which was held on September 30th. Several of you have attended. Our visioning session was led by Dr. Frank Locker from Locker and Associates. Presented to a team. We had about 15 school and community members present, and the discussion centered around the changing needs of students in today's educational world. This, as you know, is part of necessity of construction and 5-year capital improvement project plan. One major theme that emerged as a result of the visioning day was a need to provide a student learning common. So this is something that is becoming more and more popular as school districts try to promote 21st century learning skills and really provide a space for students to collaborate where they'd feel most comfortable. So the Learning Commons serves really as a hub for student activity throughout the building. Should be centrally located, and we're going to be looking to incorporate this into our 5-year capital improvement project by discussing possibilities of renovating our school library media centers. So basically, the library media centers will be restructured and renovated to provide really a true hub of learning for kids, a little less traditional than you would think of a traditional library, and a little more able to provide flexible seating and flexible activities for kids, as well as open areas for study sections, for maker spaces, and for a lot of other things that kids will need as we focus more and more on hands-on activities in the coming years. The report that Dr. Locker is preparing is based on our discussion for that day. As soon as that report is done, I will send it out to the committee for your review. And that'll be something that we'll be discussing with the building committee in the coming weeks to look at possibilities of renovating our library media centers. Any questions in regards to that?
Like, how many locations do you anticipate having?
It would be the library media center at each school. Most likely, we would probably start here at the high school. The high school setup, as you can see, it's a cavernous room. It's a big space here, and I think it would lend itself to a little easier of a transition and renovation.
Sure.
Some of our other buildings may require a more substantial renovation project. So, working with the engineers that are part of our building committee, we'll be looking at possibilities for that. We also applied for a grant through the Champlin Foundation that would renovate the high school library. We'll hear back in November on that. And if
Okay.
that's something we can fund through the Champlin grant, then obviously it won't be included in our 5-year CIP.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on, next item on my report, the BPAC 5K took place on Sunday, September 29th. Again, several of you were present. It was a big success. We had over 100 registrants, and I believe there were 88 runners and walkers that participated. So it really was a great fundraiser for BPAC to support them. And plans are to make this an annual event as a fundraiser opportunity for BPAC. Only minor issue is that the T-shirts did not have the sponsor names on the back as promised. Due to that, the graphics company, Greenville Graphics in Smithfield, they donated the shirts at no charge.
Very nice.
And BPAC plans to take out a full-page ad in the bargain buyer to thank all the sponsors for their support. So I want to, on behalf of BPAC, thank the school committee for their generous donation. Any questions related to the BPAC 5K? Okay, next item, in the coming weeks, we'll be starting a new practice at all of our schools that we're calling Thankful Thursday. So we have produced signs for our graphics department, actually, here at the high school, has produced signs for each school. It's basically a small whiteboard that says Thankful Thursday and has the school mascot on the top. And we're going to be asking students and teachers to write on the board on Thursday something that they're thankful for. Pictures will be taken. We're posting these to some of our social media sites with the hashtag Thankful Thursday. And our hope is that this will raise awareness about some of the great things that happen on a daily basis in all of our schools. So last Thursday was our first Thankful Thursday, and we look forward to keeping that as a tradition here throughout all
That's
the
in
schools.
the younger
Yeah,
schools.
the younger kids got a kick out
I
of it.
can't wait to see some of their responses.
It was a lot of fun, our first one, so stay tuned for that. And finally, as you're aware, it's been a difficult few weeks here in Burrillville as we faced allegations of racism and poor sportsmanship of fans. As a result of a incident at a Central Falls and Burrillville volleyball game last Tuesday. I've been in close contact with the Central Falls superintendent as well as the executive director of the Interscholastic League. Our discussions have been collaborative and productive. We've addressed the issue and conducted an internal investigation, and we have in the process of developing plans to educate our students on the importance of cultural awareness and respectful behavior towards others. I'll be working with the Rhode Island Commission on Racial Justice, as well as the Equity Institute and the Institute for the Study and Practice of Nonviolence. Much of this work was in progress last year. We began particularly with the Equity Institute to provide cultural responsive training and teaching strategies to all of our faculty. That'll continue with the professional development on October 15th. And then we're going to really have some more substantial plans once we meet with the folks from from those organizations. We have an upcoming hearing this week at the Interscholastic League to address the incident, and the Principals Committee on Athletics will be hearing from both Burrillville and Central Falls before making a decision on possible sanctions. So I will keep you updated as that develops. And that concludes my report. Be happy to take any questions you may have.
Anyone have questions? Dr. Salito?
I just have one comment.
Yes.
Our sports, the kids in our sports groups have been commended on being good sportsmanship and well-liked by other schools. So it's still continuing this way, right?
Yes, we've had several, over the past few years, several sportsmanship awards for our schools. That's correct. Yeah, and by all accounts, there was no issue with any of our student athletes on the incident, that alleged incident last Tuesday.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
Dr. Salito, will you be representing us at the Rhode Island Interscholastic
I will.
League hearing? Okay.
Yep, I will be there. They've asked the superintendent, the building principal, and the head coach to attend from both Burrillville and Central Falls. And that'll be a closed executive session.
Thank you.
Moving on. Item 11, administrators' reports.
Mr. Chair, motion to receive and file with a big thank you, opening of schools, to all our administrators, staff, and students for all the great educational information, art, sports, other subjects presented in all the reports given to us. Thank you.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Item 12, reports of school committee subcommittees.
Mr. Chairman, the Policy Subcommittee met a couple of weeks ago. We're updating the homeschool, which of course you've got the copy, the home education policy for Burrillville. I think that the couple of highlights to take away from that, the major changes is the letter of intent that would normally be submitted on an annual basis has been now waived, and it would be an ongoing, continual assumption that the student would be homeschooled unless you instruct the district otherwise that the student would be returning. I think that was the primary, and also with the graduation piece was another opportunity for students to graduate in Burrillville, and that's outlined in the document you've got. So I think those are the two major changes that we looked at. So.
Good. Anyone else? I would,
If I can make a comment on the subcommittees.
Yep.
I think at this point in the year, we're going to ask to convene a traffic safety committee meeting. And topics of discussion on that will be bus routes, late bus routes, and any other issues related to transportation at the start of the school year.
good. You need a motion on that?
If you want to set up a time or date.
You want to set up a time and date?
I'll email committee members to get availability before setting up a time for that.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Item 13, correspondence, communications. Portsmouth School Committee resolution.
Motion to receive and file.
Second?
Make a comment on that?
Motion to receive and file. I have a motion and a second. Discussion.
So just a comment on this, if you've taken a look at the resolution, this was passed by the Portsmouth School Committee, I believe, last month. One of the things that they are requesting be added to state law, and I'm going to read this verbatim. This was the quote that the Portsmouth School Committee is requesting. It says, "No public school official or public school employee shall for any purpose solicit or exact from any pupil in any public school any contribution or gift of money or any article of value or any pledge to contribute any money or article of value." That's the way the RIGL 1638-6A is written currently. What they'd like to add is the phrase, "This prohibition does not apply to school-sponsored field trips in which parents can be asked for funding as long as the district provides funding to any student whose family cannot afford the cost of the trip." So I would make a recommendation that we support this resolution on behalf of Portsmouth in regards to some of the changes that some districts have made with field trips. As you know, our field trip policy has stayed in place, but I think a clarification of the legislation on this issue would be helpful.
Would you amend your motion
Withdraw my
to
motion and make a motion to approve
support?
and support.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, discussion?
Is there any mechanism by which we, we're able to enforce that additional verbiage? Is there?
We have always provided for students who can't afford
Yeah.
field trips, school-based field trips. I mean, it's a different regulation when it comes to outside field trips, extended field trips outside of school time. Like a Europe trip that happens over a school vacation is entirely different, but this would be school trips.
Okay,
during
because
the
that
school
was
day.
kind of what I was thinking about is, those are major undertakings and that's a different environment. So that wouldn't apply to that
No,
type of.
this would apply only to in-school field trips, and there may be some clarification with that, but I can keep you posted on that end.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a question about this?
Sure.
Does this include, how we have pennies for patients in schools and people, kids can bring in pennies or, does this paragraph, does that rule that out?
No, because that money does not go, whenever that, we have those fundraisers, that would not go to, Pennies for Patients would not, that money goes directly to the organization, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. That's not a fundraiser to
So it'd be a
fund field
donation
trips.
we'd consider.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyone else? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I'll draft a letter of support and send that out to Portsmouth.
Thank you.
Item 14, new business, approve homeschool applications.
I don't think, did we do
There
that
was no
last
paper
meeting?
I'm sorry, there are none this month.
Oh, okay, all right, fantastic.
Next item, draft policy P3891, first revised reading.
Mr. Chair, a motion to approve policy P3891, first revised reading as presented.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, discussion? Having none, all in
And
favor?
dispense with reading.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next item, obsolete equipment. Don't have any?
Mr. Chair, motion to approve the Technology Department obsolete equipment list
Second.
as presented.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Having none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Discussion, vote on necessity of school construction budget.
Motion open.
Second.
Motion open and second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 So I can speak to this as we begin our process of developing our capital improvement project, our 5-year capital improvement project, and necessity of a school construction budget. We're hoping to call our first building meeting in the coming weeks. I believe at the town council meeting tomorrow, they may be appointing a liaison or member to that committee. And what I'm looking for is some parameters from the committee tonight on what kind of budget we think would be reasonable for our 5-year capital improvement project to kind of work with. So we originally had, as you may remember, a long laundry list of items from Torado and Architects, and pared that down to a more manageable list of priorities, which was about $10 million, which is still rather pricey. So now our charge is to look at that $10 million list and really cut that further down and prioritize that to only the absolute necessities that we must have over the next 5 years. But I'm looking for some direction from the committee on what our overall number over that 5-year period should look like, keeping in mind that any project that is directly related to necessity of construction will be reimbursed at slightly over 50% from the Department of Ed if it qualifies.
Do you have a recommendation on that?
My recommendation would be approximately $800,000 a year for a total of $4 million over the 5 years, knowing that 50% of that would be, close to 50% of that hopefully would be eligible for reimbursement.
when we had talked about this, when we had the meeting about this,
Do we want
I'm sorry.
Do I want a motion in a second before we discuss? Do you have a motion in a second? No. That's what we're gonna take vote.
I'll make
Have
a
a motion,
motion
please.
to accept the superintendent's recommendation.
Second?
A motion, a second, discussion. Terry?
Yeah, when we had talked about this at the meeting that we held, we had said how we were on a time crunch with this, and we didn't want to leave any money on the table, you know. So my question is, when we start to put these out for bid to get bids back, is it going to be stipulated that they have to, the work has to be performed within a certain amount of time? Because we're going to be on a time crunch, they're going to be on a time crunch.
Right. So the way this works with the submission to RIDE is that they have certain staged applications. Our first stage 1 application was due on September 15th and submitted. That was basically our intent to come up with our capital improvement plan and do an assessment of all our buildings. Our stage 2 application will be due in February. I believe it's February 17th. And at that point, we actually have to have architectural designs on the projects. They're basic designs. They're not super detailed. But they will be designed by the architect that we're working with, Torado and Associates, based on what we identify as our needs over those 5 years. So that's the next deadline we have to hit. And then ultimately, once we hit the stage 2 deadline and we have a commitment to fund the projects, it'll have to be approved in May by the Council of Elementary and Secondary Ed. If all that gets done, then we have, over that 5-year period, we have certain projects that have to be completed in year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and year 5.
Okay, I just want to, I'm
Does
just
does that
concerned.
clarify?
Yeah, I'm nervous that once we get these out for bid, I want to make sure the work is done and within the time frame that it's going to be done, and,
So that we get our money.
right,
Yeah.
so we can get our money back, right?
Right. Also, do we have cost escalation clauses built into these contracts?
Makes you feel any better, we completed our last 5-year plan on time.
It makes me feel better. That does make me feel better.
And my understanding is we're keeping these architects for the 5 years?
No, we have to go to bid. Once they do the stage 2 application and we get accepted, then we have to go to bid. They're welcome to bid on the projects as is any other company.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? All in favor?
Aye.
And that was for $4 million, correct?
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Discussion, vote, CTE program budget.
Motion open?
Second?
Motion open in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Discussion, I think Dr. Slito has videos.
I do. So, as you know, last year, we really started to ramp up our promotional activities around our career and technical education programs at the high school. We had, last year, we had started the year with 1 approved program, had 2 additional approved programs. This year, have 2 more additional approved programs, so we're now up to 5 Rhode Island Department of Education approved programs at the high school. Recently, actually today, our website at the high school was updated to include some information about these programs, including 2 promotional videos, one for our law and safety
Yes.
program, and the other one was for our biomedical program. So we have about 2 or 3 minute videos on those that I'd like to show you now on our television right behind you. If you want to take a look, and Justin, I think, has them queued up.
We don't have a textbook. We follow a concept. We put it to work. We research any topic, get into depth about it. Usually ends up finding, and we usually end up finding an outcome or a result, and we can apply it to a real world situation.
I really like it because it's more hands-on than just that normal biology class where you're reading books and writing notes, and this one you're really hands-on with experiments and DNA and things like that. I want to be a pediatric cardiologist, so when we did the heart, it was like, I just loved it.
It's important because it will allow students to explore the different aspects of the medical field in a little bit more depth and be able to see themselves in the medical field, a nurse, a doctor, a practitioner of some sort.
It's prepared me by showing me what I should expect when I go to a school and actually study what I want to learn in the future and actually do in a career. After high school, I want to be a flight medic, and I hope to go to a college between now and then and kind of get that education started before I go right to that. My favorite part about that is probably the teacher, because I love Mr. Ferraro. He's such a good teacher. Like, he really helps, like, even after school or like anything you need, like, he's always there for you, and that's really just helpful. I think that the two teachers that teach it, Mr. Ferraro and Mr. Cervinia, they're great teachers, and Mr. Ferraro especially got the Golden Apple Award. So I think that he really sticks out, and he's a very good teacher.
These kids are motivated, they're ready to learn. A lot of these students now in the third year, we've already had an experienced class time together, so now we just hit the ground running. I want them to have a great experience. I want them to learn. I want them to be able to know how to learn and solve problems in the practical way, and really that's what's great about the program.
You have to be willing to work for it. It's a lot of work. Consistency, like, you can't be slacking or anything like that. It takes a lot of courage to do it, but it's really worth it in the end.
When we have state-of-the-art equipment, experiences, the students are going to really have a good grasp of in-depth concepts and being able to apply them to a real-world situation with current technologies. And you know, it's a different feel. The classroom's a different feel. It's truly a collaborative effort between students and teachers together.
There's one more for our law and public safety pathway.
I've had a policing class where I learned all of the law enforcement and car stops, traffic stops, felt like felony issues, and it has been something that I really do enjoy, and I've learned so much, and I love it. I really do.
We are such a small school that we have small classes, but we can also give students real-world applications. We apply everything we do in the classroom, but we go one step further, and those connections can be very helpful for the students.
They will be exposed to the criminal justice process before they actually spend a lot of money or time getting involved, trying to look for a job in the law field.
I learned that it's a lot different than I thought, and you need a lot of skill and drive for it, and you need to think a different way. Through the 4 years, I've learned so much of what I like, what I don't like, and who I am as a person.
I wasn't always a teacher. For over 20 years, I was a police officer. I worked my way up the ranks. I actually retired as a deputy chief. In that time, I've seen a number of recruits come in, trying out the job, and thinking they wanted to be a police officer. Once they actually got involved in it, they realized it wasn't for them. This pathway will give them that exposure and let them see what they're getting themselves into before they invest a lot of time, money, or energy into a career that maybe isn't for them.
Everything we do bases off the real world, so if we talk about something, it definitely has aspects of applying it in the community as well as in the job.
I'm getting the college experience. It's not downgraded to be for high schoolers. It's such a serious class where you learn about those hard topics, those painful ones to learn, and it prepares you for the future a lot.
Our program is aligned with Roger Williams University, and the course selections that they take with us are the same courses they would take at Roger Williams. The only difference is here they're free, and when you finish the program here, you're going to actually gain college credits.
So whether it be college, a trade school, or a job right out of high school, they have different opportunities that will suffice from the material they learn within our program.
I think one more thing also is my background. They're being taught by someone who was in the field, who was actually involved in the hiring process. I could tell them the pitfalls, I could tell them the dangers of what they need to do to prepare for each assignment, for each job interview, for that matter.
I think people should know that out of all of the pathways, to me, this one is probably one of the hardest, just because it racks your brain and it gets you thinking. There's so many ways to interpret ideas, and issues, and it's all gray. There's not a yes and no answer like there is sometimes in science or in engineering, and I think that's important to know.
Very nice.
Good job.
It's very nice.
So as you can see, a lot of passion by our, by our students and our educators in the pathways. It's great to see. Building on that, what I'm looking for at this point is to really continue that promotion and take the next step forward with that. So last year, as you're aware, we made 3 videos similar to this. We have a lot of other publications and pamphlets and literature to promote our programs, but we need a little more to push our programs forward to both our middle school students and students in other communities who may be interested in attending in Burrillville. But we need a little more money to do that. So I'm recommending that we use some funding that we got from 2 of our students that are coming in from other districts this year. We have one from North Smithfield, I believe, and one from Woonsocket. So what I'd like to do is transfer money from our tuition line, $15,000 from the tuition line to spend towards promoting our CTE programs. I met with Justin Martin, who's the president of Martin and Associates and does all of our promotional work and our video work, and he assured me that in that $15,000 range would be enough to have a social media campaign to promote these programs so that our community would be more aware of these and that other communities would be more aware of these as well. So that's why I asked for this item to be under new business, to kind of show off our videos a little bit, and hopefully you get your approval to take the next step and move some of that funding over. And I met with Justin Martin last week, and his analogy was, you've got a great foundation, you've built the house, now you need to put a roof on it.
Mm-hmm.
So respectfully requesting your approval to move $15,000 from our tuition line towards promotion of our CTE programs.
I would make that motion.
I'll second that.
Motion is second. Further discussion? Having none?
That would be tuition just from this year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Anyone else?
No, I mean, I do recognize the additional loss of students this year in enrollment, right? So we're in a critical place to really pursue this. And to hear, one of the comments there about trade schools too, I want to just mention it in a public forum, but the idea of another trade, something that could be more of a blue collar. I know we've got a great foundation and we may not want to expand too far and get ourselves out of focus, but I think that's a good thing to keep in mind for those types of skills, But
I agree with Don.
I think that's something we should certainly keep in the back of our minds, or maybe the front of our minds, I should say. But I think what we're doing is good, and promotion is key, because until we turn the tide, we're going to continue to go down the wrong road as far as revenue and as far as student enthusiasm and involvement and everything. So hats off to what you've done so far. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next item, committee comments on agenda items. Alex?
Oh, go ahead.
No,
No, you're first.
I just wanted to remind everybody that Saturday is Burrillville Homecoming, one of my favorite days of the year. We have the parade kicking off at 9 a.m. where we are all invited to judge the floats that the classes create, and then the football game, I think kickoff is at 10:30. So I hope everyone can make it. Always a great day.
Where are the judges going to be? Where's the judging going to be?
Right in front of Callahan.
Okay.
Callahan School.
I think if you're going to judge, we were asked to arrive by 8:30 and then parade at 9.
Donnison?
Mr. Chair, I'm just going to make one brief comment on the issue that we've sort of been dealing with this week, and it's brief. And I just want to simply say that I think most of what we've seen related to this volleyball incident surrounds not necessarily a student discipline issue, more so than an adult discipline issue. From what I've seen internally, they're handling the issues that have come, and that's private information, nothing that we would be privy to or need to know. But from what I've seen, if people are legitimately interested in making things better, the things I've seen wouldn't have happened. I think back to when I was in second grade, and I had to fill out the little thing, and it says, you know, are you white or black or Hispanic? And I looked at my skin, and I was the darkest kid in the room. And I thought, I actually asked the question, I said, what do I put? I didn't know what to put. I mean, an innocent second grader not knowing how to answer that question. And I think we could take a page out of a first and second grader's book, and they don't judge people by any of those criteria. It's adults that force us all to sort of think in that way. And I'm just really disappointed that the couple of culprits that we saw out in the making the airwaves are not interested in making things better. They're not interested in improving interpersonal relationships, which is really what this is. It's not about who you identify with and because of the color of your skin or something like that. That's not, I mean, I think we should take a page out of a first and second grader's book and treat each other with respect as far as individuals and not try and lump ourselves together into categories like that. But I think it's unfortunate that some people like to add gasoline where there's a smoldering fire. And I think that's what we saw. And I'd just like to tip my hat again to the student athletes in Burrillville who have to, put up with all of this because it's not fair to them. They didn't ask to be put into this situation, and I really don't have anything more to say on that, but I think that moving forward, an olive branch goes a long way, and I think that there's a lot of misinformation, and hopefully we can move forward from this, and that's all I have to say, but hopefully that we can act a little bit more like first and second graders, treating each other with respect, so thank you.
Well, in addition to that, Mr. Allen, I would like to say that the comments made by the Rhode Island Soccer Association director, chairman, whoever he is, are absolutely deplorable. And I think if I was a member of that association, I would not want to have him represent me in any way whatsoever. Anyone else?
I agree with you.
Having none, we'll move on. Pending issues. We have none before us. Item 17.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you for coming, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.